Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Today we're back on the updates 1.87 dev server and we're having a look at the Sea Hawk FGA.6. This is a new rank 5 battle rating 8.3 vehicle that is going to grace the British tree in update 1.87. Now, there's been a lot of talk about the Sea Hawk and whether it's going to be good or whether it's going to be bad, and my feeling is exactly the same as every other jet, which is in the British line, which is similar to it. It's going to be okay, it's going to be quite maneuverable, but the issue is always going to be speed. And since this thing is at 8.3, if it gets around 8.0, maybe 7.7, stuff like that, yeah, it'll be alright when it comes to its speed, but when it comes to 9.0 or 8.3, then it's going to have issues, isn't it? It just isn't fast enough, especially if you take ordnance with it. So the Sea Hawk is an attacker aircraft. What this means is that it's good at killing everything on the ground, and it's good at killing everything in the air. What it's not good at doing is being optimum at both of those things. There has never really been an aircraft that has mastered this idea of being dominant in the air and dominant on the ground, at least from the time periods that we have in game. So we have to make some concessions when it comes to them. So with this aircraft, we're making some slight concessions, basically saying that it's not going to be the best in the air, but at least it has some good secondary weapons to be useful against the ground. So the first thing to understand is the main armament on this is Hispano Mark 5s. So you have 4 Hispano Mark 5s centrally mounted on this machine with 600 rounds of ammunition. You also have the pilot right here, and the engine is centrally mounted. It's the de Havilland Ghost 103 jet engine with a decent amount of power, 2400 in it. And when it comes to everything else, well, it's just a big old fuel tank, isn't it? Has a little bit of armor on the front, with regards to 64 millimeters of bulletproof glass. And when we look at the modifications, we see from the 20 millimeters that you can get a bunch of different belts. You know, air targets, tracers, stealth, ground targets, universal. I generally like air targets, even though it kind of fluffs on the hef-sappy sometimes. And hopefully, I'm hoping that mine doesn't fluff too much so I can get kills with it. The secondary weapons portion is where this gets interesting, because obviously this thing is built for it. You can either get 2 500s, 4 500s, 2 1000s, 16 RP3s, or a collection of AP rockets with the bombs, or RP rockets with the bombs as well. So this is the maximum load that you can take. You can take 16 rockets, and 2 bombs, but you can also take some AP rockets if you want, alongside the bombs as well. So I thought this armament would be a lot more flattering for the Sea Hawk. Unfortunately, what I'm seeing now is you'll have to be incredibly accurate with the rockets, or you're going to end up in a situation where you're not going to be doing too well, and you're not going to be able to get all those kills and get a bunch of ground targets at the same time. So this machine might be stuck in 2 modes. It might be stuck in the idea that it's supposed to be a ground attacker, but it's also supposed to attack stuff in the air, and therefore it is a jack of all trades, master of none. Now that's my opinion of what's going to go on there with this thing. But it does at least have some camouflages, which is nice. You can see this green one here, which is lovely. And then, of course, the HMS Eagle one, which I think is the nicest, just because it's a nice little historical skin, which adds a little bit to it. You can see with the standard skin, it's like that. With this sea camouflage, it's a little bit more blue and has some more insignias on it. So, yep, definitely picking that up to use. But yeah, that for me, the FGA that's kind of how I see it. I don't see it as an aircraft which really is going to do a crazy amount of stuff. It's just going to be another one of those middling of the ground aircraft. And unfortunately, Britain has spades of those things right now. It has a bunch of aircraft which are okay, and that's about it. You know, they're not top tier. They're not fully amazing on their own. Like, the Hunter's still pretty good. The Meteor is still very good, but the Meteor breaks apart before it hits its top speed, same with the Sea Meteor. But with this plane here, we do have an opportunity to create a wonderful aircraft. It's got a decent roll rate, it's got a good elevator as well, it has good maneuverability, and therefore if we go up against an individual who, let's say, is really good at speed, which is going to be the main detriment to something like this, you can outmaneuver them, you can make them overshoot, you can go after them. The question is, can you get into that dominant position first before all of those things happen? And I think the answer is yes. I think you should be able to, with this machine, if you have a little patience, to be able to set up positions which will make you incredibly beneficial to where you are. Now, what's also nice about this thing is that both of its flames are working. What we saw on the German premium version is, unfortunately, some of the flames decided that they didn't want to work, but on this it's alright. They seem to be a little bit uneven, but overall that's fine. It could be, we could have worse things in the world, or at least going on in the world, than that. The main thing I take away from this jet is it meta breaking? No. Is it meta defining? No. It is just another British jet with a decent turn. Now, hopefully one day we fully can embrace that and push it towards something much better than we see now. Push a British vehicle to the top echelons of what we see in War Thunder. Another thing to count on as well is, unfortunately, this version does not get air-to-air missiles. The one in the German tree does get air-to-air missiles, where this one doesn't. This one just gets the standard rockets and the standard bombs, and it just shows you how deadly the AI can be in games like this. But you can see that the Hispanos are doing okay damage, at least against the Ju-87. Maybe it's not the best thing to report it on, but it is something. The biggest issue for planes like this is the fact that other planes, jets of said caliber, can just dive away and reset. And even if you get in a really good position in this thing, what do you do in that situation? I suppose all you do in that situation is hope that everybody forgets, and then you can just claim it was like that all the time. So, yeah, you could do it like that. The other thing is, just trying to hit this aircraft. Come on, baby. So you can see here why people don't really like the Hispanos, because they sometimes do a decent amount of damage, other times they don't do a ton of damage at all, and that is obviously shown here with this plane, which can be incredibly infuriating for some. I wonder if, because thinking about it, we have planes like the Yak-15P, we have planes like the Me-163, we have planes like the, oh, I can't remember its name, not the Kicker but the other one, you know which one I mean, the Key 200. So there is obviously a place there for maneuverability and turn. The question is, can it be exploited on the normal level without having to do a gimmick or without having to try and do something really silly? Instead, why not just do something which is more normal, which is designed to be a set of systems which would make the aircraft much more useful, and therefore, you know, you won't die as much. It is an odd one to me to think about. Maybe it's just an inherent issue with the game. Because one of the things that we have definitely seen, or at least has worked out itself, is you have bombers in the game, you have fighters in the game. They are diametrically opposed, but at least they have positions in the game. When you get an attacker like this, it doesn't have a full position. It just occupies a bunch of positions that could be used by better aircraft, which are able to do exactly the same job as you, and generally something else on top of that. So I'm just wondering if this is going to change it. I feel like the answer that keeps ringing in my head is no. I don't think this changes the matter. All I think this does is give me another British jet to grind out, which I won't be happy with. And because I'm British, that's all I want to do. And I'm completely fine with it. But anyway, I mean, we'll have to see how it is. I personally don't think this will be a trailblazer. I just think it will be there, and people will forget about it very soon. But we'll see. Anyway, I hope you all have a wonderful day. I'll see you next time.